unstoppable recently.
And I feel like the only way to beat this Vici lineup is really to tailor your picks and bans to force them into some mid to late game power spikes. They keep picking for early, and Pastry Time, they keep winning.
And we've actually swapped things over. It is Royal over on the left-hand side with swap sides, of course. Royal on the blue, Vici now on the red. There is the first Twisted Fate ban there coming through as the first ban for Royal. We've got Nidalee ban there as well. Ari and LeBlanc also joining in. So Royal, I think, learnt their lesson from Atong's Twisted Fate.
So Royal on the blue, so theoretically they don't have to ban the Rek'Sai. Don't know much about Blank's champion pool, but have to think he can pick up the Rek'Sai and play that champion. Janna's the final ban, take it away from Mata. Always a good call, but what will be available for Vici's first two picks? That's my big question. I have to think the Lucian's going to be snapped up if it's available.
Yeah, we'll have to see. There's the Maokai actually coming through, and Royal will instantly take away the Rek'Sai, so that will leave, like you said, the Lucian there for Vici. They played the Hecarim carry, actually had a very impressive looking game on that as well, so lots open here for Vici, and this time plenty of junglers for Dandy.
Plenty of junglers left for Dandy. In terms of early pressure junglers, not that many available. Of course, Udi is still available. Nunu's another consideration. Mata onto Thresh with Janna taking away a bit more initiation focus, but still going to be plenty of power from the support role.
Yep, Hecarim, Thresh, Vici's first two picks, and I like that they've gone away from banning out Dandy, because at this point, he's shown that Udi has shown Nunu. You just can't ban him out. He's just such a good player that it doesn't matter what champion is on, it feels like. So we're going to move back over. Royal probably going to take the Lucian here away from Vasily, but Vasily just fine on Graves in the last game.
Absolutely, and never got to the part late, never got late enough in the game where Graves' more burst focus was something you could hold against him. He was so strong that the burst again was taking down members in the backline, so you're doing fine. Wow.
Yeah, wow. Wow, indeed. There is Lucian is the pickup we had now, but Kola says, you know what? Need something a little bit harder to carry in the top lane. Give me the Jax, and that's what he's got.
And now he's basically demanding the Graves pick coming through. Of course, Graves with the shorter range against a Jax is not going to be much fun. The leap strike getting on top of him not going to be helpful. It's still probably going to be the Graves pick. That's what they've been showing. But Jax against Hecarim will probably be your top lane matchup, and that is going to be so, so interesting. Finally, they get Dandy onto more of a farming jungler. There is some differences from Vici in this comp, but if they can make this work, I think they can make anything work.
Yeah, that's what I think everyone has to be afraid of, is that if Dandy can make Sejuani work, the flavor of the patch, it feels like, on 5.6, Vasily can make Graves work in this situation, and Royal might have even more hard engage to get on top of this AD carry. They've got to try and set up Nama, who's got Lucian, a very good champion for him, but Dandy now on another new champion. As I said, after the Udi performance last game, I'm convinced Dandy can play anything.
And look, they've gone for the Lulu for the double, the unburrow into the wild growth, double initiation option. Of course, you can use all the defensive CC we usually associate with Kog'Maw onto either the Jax or the Lucian. So you have a lot of flexible options style in Royal Club lineup. They're considering something a little bit too crazy. I'm not even going to talk to you about the potential of Sivir mid. Cho'Gath, it makes a lot more sense.
I think Marta's just having a little bit of fun, but I do like the Lulu likely for Korn there in the mid lane, and Zero going to get aggressive, or stay aggressive, I should say, on the lane. Actually not going to be aggressive this time. Was playing Nami in the last game, so we'll swap it up. We'll match engage for engage from the support role, and Vici, not long left, but for Hatong, one of his other big picks when it hasn't been Twisted Fate, it has been the Cho'Gath, and it looks like at this point, that's what they'll lock in.
And finally, we'll be able to take a breath and not see something just mind-bending coming out from the LPL. Sixth game of the night. Finally, the meta shakes out a little bit more. Jax is something a little different by LPL standards, but Cho'Gath in the middle, this seems like a very apt replacement for the Twisted Fate. Not the same global pressure, but we've seen already Twisted Fate's win rate in the LPL, barring a couple of losses recently, has been very, very high.
Yeah, and Hatong, again, one of his other big champions, has certainly been this Cho'Gath now that Azir has kind of rotated out of play, at least for now. So strong comps on both sides. I think Royal did a much better job of banning this game, not over-targeting Dandy and kind of getting carried away, but it's still Vici, and again, it's not the picks that really makes Vici that scary-looking team, it's the way they play. So we'll go through the matchups, and Jax versus Hecarim, there are some big carries in the top lane.
Hecarim certainly can't pressure people early, so it feels like Jax should get a fairly easy laning phase. Both these champions not the happiest in lane swaps, so maybe the lane swap will be initiated. Sejuani for Dandy, definitely something different. It's not Nidalee, it's not Rek'Sai, it's not Java, it's not a very early skirmishing jungler. Will that change Vici's identity? That's the big question that we look to answer today.
Yeah, Korn a bit more safer, wave clear style mid on the Lulu as well. Nami going to take Lucian back into the Graves matchup. Zero now on something different has Leona, but Mata has already answered with the Thresh, you have to think.
And the scaling into the late game is a big question mark. Jax, he's the champ. He can be massive in the late game, but Hecarim and Sejuani, they're no slouches from the jungle either, so there's a lot of potential scaling questions to be asked. I guess you could say the burst once again falls off, but we'll get the answer of, is it about the picks or is it about the players? Because it's looking more and more like it's the players from Vici Pastry Town that need to be feared.
I'd have to agree with you. And again, if they can do it, especially with the Sejuani from Dandy, Vici will look very scary moving into the last few weeks of the LPL and into playoffs. And Royal, they need some points here. I mean, 1's not good, but it's better than 0.
Yeah, 3 points behind King now, 4 behind them, 3 points behind Masters 3. If it's not now, it might be never.
Well, can Royal get their points? We're going to find out soon as we're about to start Game 2. And welcome back here for our second game between Vici Gaming and Starhunt Royal Club. Vici getting nice and aggressive here at level 1, moving through the jungle and getting some deep wards down. Already have 2 there, 1 near the blue and 1 just to the right, slightly down from it. They'll back away. Mata also is warded for a potential swap, so we might see again Vici initiating that lane swap.
Well, you can see from the aggressive wards that definitely lane swaps are on the minds of at least Vici Gaming. Makes a lot of sense. Jax does struggle in a ranged lane matchups. Doesn't even have the range of the Rampage. I believe that's about 350 range. You're not getting much range from that Rampage whatsoever compared to for Jax, who basically just has a melee ranged auto attack.
Yeah, Royal pretty cute. They're actually standing fairly aggressively, hoping that someone comes through towards the blue buff. Did get a trinket ward for their trouble, but won't get anything else. And they're actually moving Carry back already with the Hecarim. Cole, though, he's on the Jax. He's going to start a jungle camp, and I think he can do this on his own with Counter-Strike.
It does look like standard lanes as far as we can tell. Carry was motioning towards the top, now kind of looking towards a camp instead. And yes, with the ability to be untargetable, you shrug off the first few auto attacks, then stun up the creeps. So at least as far as we can tell, another champion you can add to this list of champions like Sion, like Hecarim, that can enter lane with extra experience.
And Dandy, they're getting a bit low, but starting on his red buff on the Sejuani. That is the thing. You do get quite low on the Sedge, and Blank already finished his camp. So we'll see again the Rek'Sai-Sejuani matchup. Sedge a lot less safe and a lot slower. We'll see if Blank can take advantage of that.
And I guess the question is, how many camps can Dandy take with no leash and having to start on the red? Usually the red is the second buff you want to smite just for that extra burst of health to clear. Has to start on that buff. Going to be interesting to see how early he has to shop. He needs at least the gold for perhaps the Rangers Trailblazer, you'd have to think, before he wants to shop.
You can see Colo teleporting back to the top side after going back home. Just got some extra pots and awards, so didn't delay those potions for potential early boots or cloth armor, but going to get the minions as they come in, and Jax starting off well. You can see with the level advantage, able to bully just a little bit for carry, but he's going to go back now and probably port back.
Absolutely. Just match the consumable advantage that Jax was able to pick up with the early camp. So probably going to be nothing to split that. Actually can buy a cloth armor as well. It's going to be feeling pretty good about that purchase. No real need for Merc Treads this game from the Hecarim, so can happily put the cloth armor and work it towards a ninja tab.
And you know what? After all the swapping that goes on, I think Royal are happy with standard lanes. They probably would have loved the last time as Name gets hooked up there. Double Flay coming in as well. Vasily getting stunned up 0. Great reactions there. And the trades do come back, and Royal actually come out ahead.
Yeah, Vici have to be careful. Remember, it's an Ignite choice by Leona that is down. They did not have an Ignite of their own, Marta, so they were ceding a bit of 2v2 power, and they're continuing.
Yeah, going back in. Marta now going to take a lot of damage. Nami a little low on mana, but will move back and forth. Potions being chugged by everyone here in this bottom side of the map. And again, Royal with the standard lane seem to be doing just fine in the first few minutes of the game.
When you see a Leona, a Thresh, a Graves, and a Lucian, you know you're going to see brawling, and the brawling's definitely on in bottom lane. No respect between these two sets of laners. They're getting in each other's faces.
And the top lane, again, also just fine for Cola. Probably not going to be able to bully now that the levels and the items have evened up, but even without it, just going to get some free farm, and that's what they both want. But Jax just scaling that much better than Hecarim.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just on paper. We haven't seen too much Jax in recent patches. We know his potential in the late game, but with the onslaught of shadows, you feel like Hecarim might be more reliable in what he does in a fight. Isn't as prone to being kited as the Jax.
We'll have to see. Mid lane, kind of a wash there as well. Lots of wave clear between the Lulu and the Cho'Gath, but we're still down in the bottom side here. Nami falling a bit behind on CS early. This is where Graves shines, when you can get them under turret and throw out hooks just to threaten them. That's exactly what Graves wants, you under your turret.
At least for the next 90 to 100 seconds, they do have a summoner advantage. Speaking of advantage, Danny looking for the gank in mid.
Great Rupture coming through, a good knock up there, and that's going to force Korn to flash. Just managed to get out of the CC chain, but when Dandy does that again, they can't get out. Now it's 0 in the bottom side as Blanks come down, but it's a bit of a misfire there, and 0 took way too much damage in that trade.
You compare the two ganks. One of them blows a flash, the other one actually blows a flash defensively. So not a bash, but a lot of health and a lot of lane control for Starhorn Royal Club in general. Danny's looking for a wraparound gank. Someone should tell him they should be farming down the jungle camps because he doesn't seem to know about it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if it hurts Dandy at all. And again, with Rexler having that much better of a clear speed, but it's fine what's going on here. And Mata even going to threaten with another hook. Zero's not here, so Name has to play very conservatively.
Absolutely. So Vici just holding onto the wave, pushing him when he has to. Zoning hook is successful. Vici doesn't have enough for a BS, so probably doesn't want to shop just yet. Is in the top lane.
Yeah, we have a dive now coming through. Dandy coming in, but Hatong also there. Wandered his way up. It's very rare to see a Cho'Gath roam, and Cola gets out of that one with ease.
I mean, between the knock-up and the slow that comes through, if you do connect with the Q, the Rupture can do a lot of work. The follow-up damage was there, but it was a nice little roam. It wasn't punished because, of course, Lulu had just gone back to shop. And the result? No big result on the map.
Sort of interesting, we haven't seen too much mid Lulu recently as Royal are going to start up the Dragon. Now Mata will spot them off, so this is quite a bit dangerous. And Royal, I think, have to disengage. They've already pulled away. Zero walking out. Nami might even get hooked, or Zero might just be the recipient. Mata does not throw it out, though, but a very just good intuition there from Vici denies Royal a sneaky Dragon.
I do like the sneaky Dragon attempt coming through in Star World Cup, just because they knew that two members were tanking turret and top. They were not going to be making their way to the Dragon anytime soon, so they went for it. They pushed their limit, but couldn't get it.
Again, more trades in the bottom side, though. Zero coming back in, gets flayed back. Vasily trying to find a way in, but Nami weaving in auto attacks here. No one's gone to shop, and Blank is down in the bottom side, so trying to set up a gank here from this brush.
The Ignite is back up, so the summoner disadvantage has been halted. There's the engage.
It goes in there now. Blank going to move. He comes in with a flash on Burrow, but just misses as exhaust. Goes down onto Name. Mata getting a little low there. Blank going to run in. Name really wants the kill, but instead they'll force Vici away.
They only had the option of a burst trade because Name does not have a lot of mana. He's basically out of mana at this point. Just enough for one ability, whether it's the Piercing Light, whether it's the Relentless Pursuit. They still have lane control, but the flash on Burrow awkwardly doesn't come off for Blank.
Yeah, so Royal going to use some of their Relic Shield charges and whatever mana Name has left and clear that wave out. Mata's already gone back up. Moby Boots, actually, so looking to get around the map. Decided not to go for a sidestone, wanted the aggressive boots instead.
I think the smart adaptation is, you know that the mid laner's flash is down. Why not pick up the Moby boots and give yourself a chance to gank right now at this point where the flash is still unavailable for about 2.5 minutes. So I like the reactive choice there. You're not locked in necessarily to picking up the Moby boots. You could definitely have just picked up a Sightstone and just had no mobility, just relying on his base mobility. But with this adaptation, you see the flash down. Why not just give yourself the opportunity?
And you can see Zero can't even get really close to that Sightstone, just as boots one and a couple of wards there to go along with his gold generating item. BF Swords picked up for Nami, though Graves is about to go shopping, so should be able to match that fairly soon.
Yeah, very even between Vasily and Nami. That was the same story in the previous game, though, and then all the global snowball started to creep its way into the 2v2 duo lane. In the mid lane, definitely a lot different this time. Not as quick to react on Cho'Gath as he would be on Twisted Fate. Removing the Destiny, at least you can take a sigh of relief if you're the Starhorn Royal Club solo laners, because just not as much global pressure, at least at the 8-minute.
I mean, that's why I was so surprised at the top lane gank there before, because Cho'Gath almost never gets to leave his lane to roam. He's got good CC, especially as far as follow-up CC goes, but impressive from Hatong to almost get a kill there. But if the game keeps going like this is exactly where Royal want to be as far as early laning goes with this comp.
I mean, Cho'Gath can rotate given that he has decent base mobility and his decent base movement speed. Just saunters along with his very large frame. There's no flash available.
Rupture there coming through. Blank does get the Unborrow, but Korn going to follow in there as well.
3 members. Zero's actually made his way here. Mauda's just off screen. We're going to have to wait to see whether that's a successful gank, but there was the potential of the Dark Passage coming through for the disengage.
Yeah, it looks good there, but Mata, as almost always, probably in the right place at the right time, so we'll have to see if that does come through. Blank, I have to say, applying a lot more jungle pressure this time around.
Doesn't have his flash available for the flash Unborrow, which can be such a cornerstone. No kills come through there. Name himself.
Yeah, Hatong managed to live. Now Mata going to find the hook. Actually, maybe outthinks himself, and Name going to come back in so aggressive here, but Sejuani's here. The ulti comes through, and First Blood goes to Thresh. Now Zero has to run away, but Dandy has so much damage, so red buff helping out a lot. That forces Zero's flash and he'll be safe, but Name wanted it too badly and Dandy was, as always, there at the right time.
The jungle pathing from the world champion jungle once again is completely on point. Who's in the right spot but Dandy and Mata in a lane once again. Hatong was actually not available. They've both gone to pick up blue buffs. The difference is the solo blue buff from Hatong so much better than the duo blue buff between Blank and the Lulu.
And again, Dandy went for a bit of early pressure on mid, just forced a flash there, but didn't overdo it with the gank pressure. Came back, got level 6, and then an easy gank onto Name, who tried to get the kill there onto Vasily, and instead gave First Blood over to Marta's Thresh. Again, the lanes are probably going to wash out to be quite neutral as far as the mid and top game goes especially. But now Danny can start influencing these lanes with his powerful ultimate.
Remains to be seen what they make of this Cho'Gath pick. Cho'Gath has so much CC in a fight. The only criticism leveled towards him is that the reliability of his CC can be called into question. I really like the CDR build that we saw from Matong the previous time we saw Cho'Gath in the LPL. I believe that was the first non-ninja Cho'Gath game where he went for the build of Merlonomicon into CDR boots and looked very pokey with his Cho'Gath build. 5.4 second rupture, 305 base damage, 1 AP ratio. It's kind of a slept upon ability. Of course, it's a knock up into an AO, into a 60% slow. It does a lot of work even with base values. So CDR, a very nice statistic on a Cho'Gath who already naturally gets a lovely stack of health from the feast.
Yeah, it sets up nicely with the Sejuani ult as well. And as far as junglers go, I do want to say that we have Warrior has not completely phased out as Marta looks for a hook but doesn't find it. And Rek'Sai going to do something that we've started seeing a little bit more of. Cinderhulk here for Blank's Rek'Sai as well.
I mean, it's an option. I feel like you can be flexible. Cinderhulk Rek'Sai clears almost as fast as Warrior Enchant Rek'Sai and just scales better because, again, death cap for help sounds good, doesn't it, if you're a tank? And that's what effectively Cinderhulk is for those tank junglers.
Yeah, and Marta looks for a hook but doesn't find it. Blank is back down to the bottom, trying to get some pressure down. Name going to freeze the lane here with the help of Zero and clear out the minions. And again, very even apart from that assist that Grev's gotten, that kill that Marta has, but the first dragon not being contested yet. Marta actually going to get jumped on, but Blank actually gets flayed out of the tunnel there. Marta now lines up the hook. Dandy here as well. The box drops in. Zero going to try and save his life though, but the ulti comes through, throws out the solar flare, but it's not enough, and a great play by the world champions. Get a kill.
And they were happy to use the Glacial Prison on one member just because, again, it gives them dragon pressure. No smite available.
Flash double flare there coming through Zero. Now coming through Hatong and a flashing with the silence, and Dandy cleans up. Zero going to go down themselves. The feast is just used for damage, and Vici will secure themselves their first dragon.
Really peculiar re-engage by the Starhunt Royal Club duo lane. I don't know what they were looking for. Multiple members had already shown themselves around. Lulu would have noticed that Cho'Gath had already roamed out, but they basically give away a free dragon. It should have already been that with the smite being the first person to fall. Maybe they were trying to buy time for Rek'Sai to get back to lane because, of course, the Void Rush was available. But the result is just more and more advantages for Vici. And we already saw on the previous game, they're pretty good at pushing their advantages.
Yeah, they don't need too much more, but I guess the best news for Royal is that Kola been silently farming away, and in fact, both Hecarim and the Jax working on those Trinity Forces, but again, you have to think Kola, at least at some point in the game, if he's able to get there and stay even, he's going to have an advantage eventually.
And he's been the one that's been mainlining for the Trinity Force. Ninja Tabi forced out of carry, re-engage though.
Actually, Flash though used in as well. Carry will use his ultimate, and Kola pops his as well, so quite a lot of cooldowns. Bit of a panic button there. Must have thought that Dandy was maybe in the area. Marta actually is, so decent intuition there from Kola. And he's been dived once before. He's not interested. He's walking straight back towards his tier 2.
I mean, after that previous game, you have to think there's multiple members around every time a team goes aggressive, because every time their hand was forced, every time they had to reveal their cards, poker analogy, enacted in this situation, they've always had it. They've always had the right solution to deal with what Starhunt Royal Club are doing. So I can understand the reactive, almost the proactive flashes, because they've been necessary.
And at least Royal are pushing down some turrets there. Lulu teamed up there with the Rek'Sai, got good damage done. Name's done the same here on the bottom side. Blank will get out the Scuttle Crab there, just to the top left-hand side of your screen. And Vasili's come back. He's got his pickaxe. I mean, again, the AD carry is very even in this game. Vici haven't gotten a massive lead, but they've gotten a little one, and that seems to be enough for Vici in a lot of these games.
Sejuani, you can see coming towards top, is spotted out by a green wall, but Jax is overextended.
Yeah, Cole has to be careful. No flash this time. The ulti hits right in his face there. There's the Arctic Assault for the knockup. He will ward hop away, but it's not enough there with the Ignite for carry. And Dandy gets himself another kill on Sejuani. That is a 100% kill involvement.
And so that he's answering the question we had about Sejuani. 203, of course, scales so well into the late game, even in terms of damage, because he has the health scaling for damage on the Northern Winds W. Dandy doing work on Sejuani. I guess we shouldn't be surprised based on time. It's something different, but as he showed with picking up Nidalee so quickly, he's a fast learner.
He's played Udyr, man. I'm convinced Dandy can play whatever he wants in the jungle now, and Sejuani, no slouch here either in the early stages of this game. Looking great once again for his team, and Dandy really has been the consistent shining light for his team. Everyone stepped up. Vici certainly look like a team now, but Dandy's always been good. Let's be real.
Dandy's always been good. It's worth knowing, but again, at the start of the season, he wasn't playing the style of League of Legends that he needed for his team. He was just playing as if he was still on Samsung White, but the team didn't know how to react to this highly warded map, and he felt like there was a disconnect between the team. Not necessarily in terms of communication, but effectively in terms of commission. It wasn't necessarily a language gap. It was just like a game style gap. It wasn't the Chinese style of jungle. You need a bit more selfish items because they just fight more often. It's not as helpful to have an early Sightstone in the LPL compared to, say, for example, the LCK, because the wards just don't have the same uses in the early levels. They're more about fighting, so get those selfish stats. In this game, he's working towards probably going to be a Frozen Heart. Work your way into the side zone if you need it, absolutely, but no need to mainline for vision.
Yeah, Nami's getting 4-man gank. Flashes very nicely past the minions to not get hooked. Actually returning here has to be careful because this turret is very dead. Nami can't defend and will just get caught by a CC and die potentially, so we'll back away instead. Now going to come through. No one really here though for Royal. It's actually still just Zero and Nami and Vici. No dragon left to take, but they'll take the turret and leave.
And the scary thing is, even though this felt like much more even game and the scoreboard shows that only a 3,000 gold lead for Vici, we're still on track for a perfect game again at 15 minutes into the game. The first 15 minutes of the last 4 to 5, I believe 6 after this game, Vici games have been flawless.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the style that they play. And my question before, ban that Twist of Fate from Hatonga, what happens? And like you already pointed out in their 2-0 versus Snake, it's not Hatonga's Twist of Fate that's the only problem. It's just the way Vici approach playing League of Legends, no matter which champions they have.
I mean, it's better. Like they're in this game much more Starhan Royal Cup than they were in the previous game, but it's still working for Vici. They still have a style. They still have the players that seem to play around their strengths. I think that's the thing. I don't think Vici are suddenly the best players in the world. I think they've worked out how to amplify their strengths and shield all their weaknesses. We're not seeing the situations we saw previously where Deft was solo killing Vasily under turret as
Korn does pop his ulti, blank there as well. Will tunnel out of the way. Another Q that thrown out by Hetong. He's got the Morella Nomicon already finished, so plenty of CDR. Probably going for the cooldown boots at some point as well. Zero will be spotted by Mata here, but good ward clearing out there coming through. Mata going to keep moving through. A double flay and the box comes in. That's going to force the flash out, and Blank tunnels in there, but that's a little too aggressive. Gets knocked up there out of the tunnel and dies with an auto as he goes through it. Mata going to find the hook. Silence coming in there as Mata gets another kill on Thresh, and Vici still going strong.
The Glacial Prison was actually missed completely. They still make it all work. Mata is as good on Thresh as you remember. This will be the third outer turret. It's all starting for Vici.
Oh my god, a flash triple flay into the onslaught of Shadows. Cola forced to hop away, but Name is already dead. He's ignited, probably going down just to the latent damage, and Carry will pick it up with the edge of Spirit of Dread. Mata's Thresh, you just called it, but it is ridiculous.
It is absolutely ridiculous. I think that's 4 kills on Mata now, so getting the bloodthirstiness back. Sorry, only 3. My apologies to Vici. 3-0-5 Thresh, though, feeling great. And in general, Vici are just playing amazingly. They keep knowing exactly how to push and exactly what advantages to take. In terms of items, actually the Abyssal Scepter was sold. Sorcerer's Shoe is going to be for Atong, so moving away from the 40% CDR rush. I guess not necessarily. They're not a poke-based comp as it was when he built that. That was a Diana Cho'Gath poke-based under turret comp. Just going for sheer damage. The needlessly large rod, those screams, those ruptures, they're going to be big.
And I guess the other difference is that it's awkward for Cho'Gath when you can't get a range to do damage to have a item like Sorc Shoes, but Sejuani, especially Sejuani Hecarim as a combo, sets up for short-range mages very well. And Cho'Gath, realistically, he's a short-range mage.
And a melee champion like Jax, it was one of the reasons you don't like, say, for example, Fizz Top against Jax, is that if you can just be, Fizz Top against a Sejuani comp, is that if there's that big burst of CC, you're only tanky effectively when you have your Counter-Strike on. When your Counter-Strike's down, you take a lot of damage. So if the timing isn't split, you can fall in these fights. And as a melee champion against Hecarim, Sejuani, Cho'Gath, Jax doesn't look like he's going to have a fun time unless he gets 3-4 items into this game.
Yeah, and especially it's the bruiser problem that we always see is, do we want damage or do we want tanky? And in reality, you need both. So that dilemma causes the strain. You need a lot more gold in you. The Jax build used to be for the longest time. Trinity Force Blade of the Ruin King. Most of the Jaxes skip the blade now because it's just too expensive. But much like Aurelia, Trinity Force, especially when it's a little late, it's just not enough.
Absolutely. You can skip the second damage item, but the tankiness is so necessary, especially against Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath's just going to eat you and do half your health, even if you're Jax. Because again, your base health, that was the one thing that was targeted with nerfs, was base stats. His base stats are a lot lower than he used to be, so the resists coming through, for example, the ultimate, just aren't as relevant when you don't have as a bigger health stat. Only has Phage for health. Giant Spell, moving towards the Randuins potentially. That'll be another point of power for the Jax, but right now, the power is just combined multiple times for Vici. Still looking towards the perfect game. 4th outer turret. They're not going to start it, but they're prepping it.
Yeah, and they've been rotating so well. And staying in the top lane just briefly, Carrie's got a similar sort of champion. He's finally got the Glacial Shroud, so getting a little tanky, but has had his Trinity Force for a while. The difference there, though, is that Hecarim still does stuff when he has no items. His ultimate's really high impact, and it's just not the same champion. Aurelio and Jack, same sort of problem. When they fall behind, they look tragically underpowered when you remember them in their big, hardcore late-game phases.
And Dandy has a Snowball Frozen Heart on top of the Cinderhawk. This is a tanky Sejuani blank.
Yeah, caught out of position. Wild Growth there. Good knockups coming through. Kohler actually trying to make it happen, but he gets ulted in the face by Sejuani. The rest of Royal rotate in. Solar Flare already popped by Mata, I believe. Atong turning it around. Kohler dodging that rupture somehow, and Nami wants to get some cleanup kills. Vasily around the side. Could be in trouble. Nami flashes forward so aggressively. Vasily will go down, but Kohler's going to get CC to high heaven. Will go down there. Dandy running back in. Gets himself a kill. Actually, Zero goes down as he gets eaten by Hatong, and Blank and Korn turn their tails and bail.
And that would have been a one-team fight for Star Wars if not for the Snowball of Dandy and the other frontline members of Vici. They lived for so long, and the Northern Winds was the big damage threat there just because Vasily was completely split away from his tanks. That was one of the few times that Vasily's positioning has let him down in the recent run and surge of victories. He was split away from his tanks, did almost nothing that fight, and it was all on Sejuani and Hecarim in the front line.
And they made it work there. Carrie and Dandy teaming up, doing just enough with the Tong, having a nice supporting role there on the Cho'Gath as well. And Name, you almost feel like he's frustrated in these games. He's a great Lucian player. His positioning is what he's known for, but he's flashed aggressively multiple times in this series to try and get some kills, and it's just bringing him nothing.
Yeah, I don't want to project onto Name, a top player, one of the most famous players in Chinese League of Legends history, a top 80 carry, but it hasn't been a fun time at Starhawk World Cup, barring that initial 2-0 victory over World Elite. The team's been struggling, and without Insect, without the aggressive jungler, with a sub-jungler, it was never going to be ideal. You have to have a bit of pause and say, this is the world champion jungler against a necessitated new addition to the roster. Only been scrimming for a couple of weeks, or I believe a week on this team after Insect's injury. Needless injury, you have to say. So, I mean, Dandy still played wonderful, but the opposition is just not what you'd expect out of the Star Royal Club jungle.
No, and they've been really having to find their feet, and it's actually great that we have these two teams specifically playing each other in that you can see the difference in when a team with a lot of talented players refines its playstyle as Carry. Looking pretty aggressive for that initiation, but won't find it. Zero will find Mata, though. Blank in and knocking out. The Culling comes in as well. Solar Flare will get flashed out of it. There's the taunt coming in. Dark Passage coming through. Blank actually Wild Growth, but he's still taking too much damage. Korn, a good lance, but he gets caught out there by the ulti. He's going to flash a collateral damage. No more CC left, but Atong flashes forward as Carry takes him out. Mata will go down as the trade. Name gets one kill, but Vici 1 for 1. They're still pushing.
And that was another fight where Vasily did precisely nothing. Even the ultimate was flashed away from, but the consistent damage in the front, it's big.
Name can't play through all that. Vasily just gets in his face and takes him out. Blank gets knocked up as well. Dandy comes back in. Vasily over the top and gets a double, and you can tell why they're fighting so insanely there. Kohler has been in the bottom lane pushing. He does get their tier 2, but Vici is starting to take inhibitor turrets, and Carry will cancel the recall. They're going for the duel. Carry might lose it, but he doesn't care. He's just trying to buy time. The top tower goes down there, and Vici, they're breaking Royal's base, and Kohler just trying to get away from Carry, but he won't do it. A great ulti there gives Carry the 1v1.
Opened up space, knew the devastating charge auto attack with the Trinity Force would do a lot of burst damage, still had the ultimate available. Nice play from Carry. No need to stay near Jax when he activates his ultimate and gets those early resists. Carry's doing well.
And that was what I wanted to bring up before that crazy fight across the map. Vici are a team that have found their feet. They've clearly refined their style. They've played to their strength. They've covered those weaknesses. And they look like a world-class team at this point, really charging up through the LPL standings. Royal changes all the time. Name just joined the roster that has barely any time to play. Insect still finding his feet as well. Royal are probably not making playoffs at this stage unless they make a very deep run in the last 2 weeks. But if they come back, through relegations, playing in LPL again, it'll be interesting to see how they refine as a team as the weeks go on.
So I honestly had to pause when he said Insect finding his feet. I didn't know where to go with that. Given his recent injury, Insect's been struggling the whole season for identity. As you say, Starhawk Royal Club, a team in transition, I guess, for 9 weeks now in a lot of ways, even into the 10th week. That's probably why they find themselves in this kind of perilous position right down the turret. To be honest, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to assault the playoffs. It doesn't look like they have the manpower right now to be able to do it. and they're outmatched against Vici. As you mentioned, they're a top team.
Yeah, Mata coming in, hook onto Cola, landing it. Dandy will follow through. The culling comes in, but too much burst damage, collateral damage over the top of all of Atong's AoE, and now Name just gets destroyed by the Hecarim. Dandy going to come in, has used the slow there from the E onto Blank, chasing through. Knockup going to come through. Blank, a very good Umbaro, will save his life, but unfortunately cannot save his base.
Yes, Vici playing so smart in that fight. That time, Vici was finally grouped with his team, and you can see the difference. 4 for 0 is the trade. There's some ultis. You know what that means,
looks like a
Vici
surrender.
time.
Yep. Royal going to tap the mat under 25 minutes, and Vici already out of their seats, ready to shake hands. Can't blame them. Another flawless-looking performance. Another 2-0 for Vici Gaming.
And whatever opposition is thrown against Vici, whether it's Gumty, whether it's Snake, whether it's Starhorn Royal Club, they are dispatching them easily. Another very one-sided game. Not a perfect game, but you can see the difference between the members, specifically in the jungle. Dandy completely outmatching the sub-jungler coming through in Starhorn Royal Club. We didn't get the big Dandy versus Insect matchup that we always crave in the meetings between these two teams. And Vici in general, ban the Twisted Fate, similar results.
Yeah, I mean, again, played the same way. It's sort of the question we had for Dandy. All right, 3 jungle bans, goes to Udyr, plays kind of a similar sort of style with some adaptations here and there. Dandy just played the same way in that first game and went completely off. All right, ban the Twisted Fate, change it up, get away from the jungle. What happens? Vici just play exactly the same way. And maybe it's Vasily that you target.
And that's with champions like Nunu that are available also they could have gone for. I mean, Vasily, I believe he's played Graves and Lucian almost every game. He's played a couple of other champions. He's just looking for lane dominance. If you ban away both those champions or pick one away, he'll find something else. That's the question. Where do you go with the bans? I guess it's still unclear, and that's why Vici are such an interesting team. Nobody has figured them out. People finally started to figure out Snake. They're like, all right, ban Barker's Xerath. That'll help you win. Ban other champions. Ban the Nunu Jarvan. That worked for a while. Vici haven't been pushed in that regard because they're still looking just as strong whatever 3 bans come through.
Yeah, and a long road here for Royal, but a fantastic-looking series there for Vici once again. But we do have one more matchup for the night. World Elite are about to take on Edward Gaming, so don't go too far.